Hello, my name is Christopher Wagner. I'm a woodworker and sculptor, and this is my YouTube channel all about that. So today on this first episode, I'm going to be working with some cedar. A lot of people would be considering this kind of a garbage wood for what I'm going to be using it for. And it is kind of a garbage wood. This is leftover pieces from an outdoor construction project I was doing, building some garden beds and some fencing. Been sitting around the shop for a little while. I normally like carving from big blocks of wood, but I have decided to laminate a few chunks of this reclaimed cedar and give myself something to actually carve from. This is going to be not only a wood carving carved straight from the block, but it's also going to be basically a small table when I'm all done. Let's get cutting. So here we have some blocks that I have previously glued up. So we have a few layers already done on these, but now I'm going to be doing the glue up to make the full size of block. So each one of these has squeeze out from the previous glue ups, so that drips down. That's going to keep me from being able to clamp it down as tightly as I want. And I work with almost exclusively reclaimed lumber. This is kind of pushing the limits of my definition of that though. This is some leftover cedar that I had from a home project that I didn't have a use for. So it actually isn't technically reclaimed, but I have notches cut in these to be able to fit the table legs in when I'm ready for that step. I just already have that cut just to kind of preempt that a little bit. I'm making this almost a square, the main block. So I need 8 pieces to make it close to a square, at least visually appear to be a square. So we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 right here. This center section is going to be glued up with this actually going to be carved out into the form of something I don't even know yet. Well, I'm going to be figuring that out shortly. And then to figure that out, to make my carving a little bit easier, I know that I have these knots that are interspersed throughout the material, and they're mainly, I want to keep most of that down below the section that I'm going to be carving. So this is all going to be left as one solid piece, and up here is going to be where I'm actually going to be doing most of my carving out of. So I'm going to draw that line here, and draw it here. And now I'm going to come up with what I actually want to do with this piece. I think what I've decided to do is to do a kind of Americana iconic imagery. I love going back and forth to using bison imagery and also astronaut imagery. Those are two things that I always am going back to. So I'm pretty familiar with those images already. I've carved quite a few bison over the years and quite a few astronauts, probably at least a half a dozen a piece, probably more than that. And so the form is pretty easy for me to wrap my head around. A bison is just basically a fat cow with a hump on its back and its head a little bit lower. I think saying fat cow is probably wrong. It's more like a really beefy cow, like if a cow was on steroids. Okay, so I'm not doing capturing all the details. All I'm doing is giving myself an outline so I can cut out the rough negative shape. Okay, so I have a bison here. I think I'm going to do an astronaut. I don't know exactly what orientation I want. Whether I want them to be, I think I want it to be a little bit more confrontational. So I think they're going to be facing each other. So, and to do an astronaut, at this stage, of course, I'm not worrying about any details. I'm just giving myself the mass of what I think I want the astronaut to have. So, and maybe I think we're going to actually have the arm reaching out. Some of these details like this, like where I'm drawing an arm reaching from the body of the astronaut, that can change later on, because that's not necessary right at this moment. I can leave this information in here. If I do take it out on the bandsaw, then I cannot put it back on there. So I prefer to do that. And right now, what I'm doing is I am drawing as much of the detail that I'm pretty happy with, because you can see all my sketching marks are pretty rough. A lot of times I'll just use that as my guide, but I might as well make it a little bit more visible for myself. Work smarter, not harder. All right. So that gives me the outline of what I'm going to be cutting out over on the bandsaw. At least what I'm can cut out. So I'll be able to remove this material over on the bandsaw. This material over here. This I'm going to actually take a drill and drill drill a bunch of holes in here, so then I could take it to the scroll saw and remove that material. So now I'm going to be setting up my bandsaw for the cut, and got my light on already, so I have a little bit better visibility. I know I'm going to do my first two just edge cuts, and I don't want it to go any further past the main block of it. So I'm going to set my rip fence right where the other pieces are going to be glued up to either side. To actually drill out these spots here. I'm not going to be removing all the material this way. I'm just going to be removing enough chunks to make it a little bit more manageable. So here I am, I'm going to make a good decision and score this. This is going to just keep the wood from shredding and tearing further down here. I have my piece clamped up. I can line this up with my coping saw now. Feed my coping saw through a hole. And I'm using plenty of glue, more glue than I actually normally do on pieces, just because these chunks are irregular.